Imagine this. While the world's attention is glued to the superpower rivalries between the United States, China, and Russia, two quieter players, Canada and Sweden, are slowly weaving together a partnership that could reshape parts of the global stage. It's not making screaming headlines, and it's not splashed across breaking news alerts. But sometimes the most important shifts happen under the radar. That's exactly what we're seeing right now. Canada and Sweden, two nations known more for their stability and innovation than for global dominance, are crafting a new kind of alliance. It's about trade, technology, security, and even the Arctic frontier. And here's the kicker. If successful, this partnership could become a model for how mid-sized nations navigate a world dominated by bigger powers. So let's dive into this fascinating story of the Canada-Sweden alliance. A quiet but strategic relationship that could carry massive implications for the future of global trade and defense. But before we go further, if you're enjoying this kind of deep dive into global shifts that don't always make the front pages, hit the like button and share this video with others. It really helps us keep bringing you these insights. For Canada, reaching out to Sweden isn't just about friendship, it's about strategy. Ottawa has long wanted to diversify away from its heavy reliance on the United States, whether in trade, defense, or technology. Sweden, meanwhile, has been searching for stronger ties across the Atlantic, especially now that it's a NATO member and more deeply integrated into Western security structures. Together, the two countries are building a bridge, a northern transatlantic link that's less about spectacle and more about practical, durable cooperation. Let's start with defense, one of the most telling aspects of any alliance. Canada has been eyeing Sweden's Saab Gripen fighter jet, a cost-effective, flexible alternative to US-built aircraft. The discussions aren't just about buying planes, they're about the possibility of local assembly in Canada, creating jobs, building expertise, and ensuring that Ottawa isn't locked into US supply chains for decades to come. For Sweden, this is a golden ticket into the North American defense market, sidestepping the dominance of US contractors. It's a win-win. Canada diversifies and Sweden expands its reach. Sweden joined NATO in 2023, and almost immediately it linked arms with Canada in Latvia. Together, they lead a multinational brigade that reinforces NATO's eastern presence and reassures smaller allies near Russia. Here's where the story gets interesting. Sweden brings Arctic-ready technology and cold weather expertise, while Canada contributes its long track record of multinational deployments. This isn't just symbolic, it's functional, strengthening NATO's adaptability at a time of heightened tensions. And it raises a question worth considering. Are Canada and Sweden showing NATO what small but innovative nations can achieve when they collaborate? Instead of waiting for the bigger powers to dictate the pace? The Arctic might look like a frozen wasteland to some, but for Canada and Sweden, it's becoming the frontier of opportunity. In 2025, Sweden's icebreaker Odin teamed up with Canada's Louis S. Saint Laurent for a project called Polar Connect. On the surface, it's about seabed mapping, but dig a little deeper and you see the potential. Undersea data cables linking Europe and North America through the Arctic, reducing internet latency and boosting everything from finance to scientific collaboration. Sweden contributes its decades of polar expertise. Canada brings geography and logistical capacity. Together, they're building what could become the world's fastest digital bridge across the North. By working side by side in these harsh environments, the two nations aren't just doing science, they're carving out influence. As Arctic waters open up, big players like the US, Russia, and China will compete for dominance. But Canada and Sweden, armed with data and credibility, are positioning themselves as key voices in shaping how the Arctic will be governed in the future. That's a subtle kind of power, and it's one that often goes unnoticed. Behind the politics and the icebreakers lies another layer: business. Swedish firms in Canada are doing remarkably well. In fact, a 2025 survey showed nearly 80% of them reported profitability, with more than half planning to expand. Why? Because Canada offers stability, a strong legal framework, and, thanks to the CETA trade agreement, zero tariffs on Swedish goods. For Canada, this is a gateway into Swedish and broader European markets. For Sweden, it's a way to secure resources and innovation without the headaches of dealing with US trade disputes. The hottest sectors? Clean technology, advanced manufacturing, life sciences, and telecommunications. Swedish giant Ericsson is leading Canada's 5G rollout, while Canadian mining companies are feeding Sweden's booming demand for critical minerals used in batteries and green energy projects. This isn't shallow trade, it's deep integration. Each side provides what the other needs to move up the value chain, making it harder to disrupt and more profitable over the long term. Technology is where this alliance starts to feel truly forward-looking. Ericsson is embedding itself into Canada's digital infrastructure, shaping the foundation for everything from smart cities to autonomous vehicles. Meanwhile, Canada is shipping high-value goods like gas turbines and advanced nickel products that feed into Sweden's green industrial machine. When you think about it, this isn't just trade, it's joint value creation. Sweden's engineering precision meets Canada's research and resources, producing technologies neither could have built alone. Now, let me pause here to ask you something. What do you think about this kind of quiet alliance? Do you believe smaller, innovation-driven countries like Canada and Sweden can really shape the global order? Or will the big powers always overshadow them? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. Both nations are doubling down on the Arctic. Canada views it through the lens of sovereignty and sustainability, while Sweden is increasing defense spending to 3.5% of GDP by 2026. That signals seriousness. For Ottawa, partnering with Sweden spreads out the burden and brings fresh expertise. For Stockholm, it's a way to gain credibility in a region that's becoming more strategic every year. Together, they're showing how mid-sized nations can carve out influence in the high north without relying solely on Washington or Brussels. When you step back, the Canada-Sweden alliance is more than just a set of projects or agreements. It's a blueprint, a way for mid-sized innovation-driven nations to build resilience and autonomy in a world dominated by superpower rivalries. They're aligning on trade rules through CETA, they're collaborating on NATO defense, they're investing in Arctic infrastructure, and they're co-developing high-value technologies. This isn't about replacing old alliances, it's about adding new ones that fit the 21st century. For Canada, it's proof that it can diversify strategically without sacrificing growth. For Sweden, it shows that NATO and EU membership can coexist with tailored bilateral ties. For the US, it's a quiet reminder that even its closest friends have options. At first glance, Canada and Sweden might not seem like global heavyweights, but their alliance shows how much can be achieved when nations leverage their strengths strategically. From Arctic exploration to high-tech innovation, from NATO deployments to trade expansion, this partnership is about more than convenience. It's about resilience, foresight, and shared values in a turbulent global order. And while it may be quiet, make no mistake, the world is watching. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you won't miss the next deep dive. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.